We're just going to have a natural conversation right now.
This is us conversing naturally.
This is totally...
Emily,
this is the unscripted part of the episode.
We are friends. Emily, how was day?
Day was fine, friend Kyle.
Was day a 1 or a 0?
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Emily Moyers and Kyle Imperatore take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Howdy, y'all.
Hi,
Welcome
everybody.
to Butter No Parsnips.
Butter No Parsnips. Who are you?
I'm Kyle. Who are you?
I'm Emily.
Oh, we've actually never met.
No.
In case you guys need background.
This is a purely virtual friendship.
Yeah, we actually met on this podcast. Would you believe it?
Yes. Yeah, and we can only communicate by talking about words.
It's true. And speaking of words,
Yeah.
I hear that Emily's got a special one for me today, and I'm excited to know about it.
All right. Well, Kyle, your word today is afflatus. Afflatus.
Afflatus. Emily, you gotta stop doing words about diseases.
No, this one is not.
It's not a disease?
No.
Oh my gosh.
It is a noun, if that helps.
It is a noun. Okay.
Yeah.
Solely a noun.
Yeah.
And it's pronounced afflatus?
Afflatus, or
Wow.
afflatus, more
Afflatus.
anciently.
More anciently. More anciently.
Yeah.
This is an assumption, but is it of Latin origin?
You are absolutely correct.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. This is probably the oldest word that I have done in this
the oldest
podcast.
word in the English dictionary. Afflatus.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the oldest word that you've got. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting because Billingsgate was pretty old, no? It was like the 1600s?
Yeah, this is definitely older, at least in Latin.
Oh, sure. So is it, I guess, I don't know if you can give me this. I don't know if this fits into our makeshift rule system.
There are no rules.
Is it like a cognate with like an ancient Latin word?
Yeah, the spelling in Latin is slightly different, but it's basically the same.
Sure. Afflatus, it's a noun. Oh, God.
Yeah,
I
you're
keep
not
wanting
gonna
to say
get
it's like
this.
an adjective. Like it sounds like I could be afflatus.
No.
I could be an afflatus. Yeah.
No, it's more of like a concept,
Oh.
not like a physical thing.
So I could be in afflatus.
Sure, I would say you could receive afflatus.
I could receive afflatus.
Yeah.
And that's when you gain notoriety for your balloon animal skills.
Yeah. You're right in your root.
In the flate part?
The flate is it comes from the same root that inflate comes from.
So inflate means the in means going into something, and the flate
Yes.
means the bigger. So you're blowing
Nope.
up something bigger. And the deflate means, this is how I work through words.
Okay.
And then deflate means the going out of deflating. So the afflatus means that something is filled with nothing?
No.
Can't you just say yes and the podcast ends there?
Yeah, I'll just say yes, and it like hard cut, like all
Yeah.
sound ends.
And just, yes.
And it's not my voice either.
It's someone else. Emily, I gotta be honest. I've got no idea on this one. I don't even know where to begin,
That's fair.
except for the flate part, and I think I've already screwed the pooch there.
Well, it's sort of tangentially related. So I'll give you the definition. Afflatus means a miraculous communication of supernatural knowledge or power, or a sudden rush of creative impulse or inspiration, often attributed to divine influence.
What?
So the Latin word is adflatus, basically afflatus just with a D where the first F is. And it literally meant the act of breathing on or blowing on. That's where the root, the fla, meant to breathe or to blow, and the ad meant like to blow towards.
The idea is like that the gods blow divine favor towards you.
Or divine inspiration. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that figurative sense, talking about it as inspiration, was originally used by the Roman philosopher Cicero in 45 BC.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like I said, it's the oldest word I've got.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I'm stunned that divine inspiration doesn't go back further than 45 BC.
Well, maybe it does, but not this word.
Sure.
Cicero used it in his book De Natura Deorum, which means On the Nature of the Gods. Mm-hmm. And it was a fictional discussion between these three different characters who were actually real people, but like the book was just a fictional conversation.
Yeah, I mean, nothing that they wrote back then. I mean, it was like, maybe it was real. You don't know.
You don't know. It's 45 BC. How are you going to know?
You're never going to know.
Yeah, so it was these three people, each defending a different school of like philosophy and theology. Mm-hmm. And these people, these three characters were obviously all like old white philosophers. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, as I was talking about this book, we could try to make these guys a little more interesting, a little more modern, just to make it better to listen to.
Okay, all right.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about them and their beliefs, and maybe you could just sort of give us like a modern vision for these characters.
Okay, all right. Oh yeah, yeah, I can do that. I'm into that.
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, you're a director. Could you like cast them maybe?
Are you like cast like celebrities as them?
Yeah, or just give us like an archetype,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just give us a more interesting image to work with.
I mean, Emily, there's so many variations on Roman men, all right? White marble is the base, all right?
Yeah.
And then beard or no beard.
Yeah.
And then
nose still on or nose fallen off.
And that's about them in real life with syphilis. Oh.
Yeah, so I was thinking you could give us a modern non-syphilis vision for these guys.
I love it. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So first we got Gaius Vellius, and he was representing Epicureanism, which was the belief that we should live in a way that derives the most pleasure with the least pain.
What is his name? Gaius Vellius?
Gaius Vellius.
Gaius Vellius. I mean, he is like, hey, chickie. Hey, it's me. I'm the Gaius with the most Vellius. The most Vellius Gaius, Hey, I'm just all about living life with the least amount of pain and the most amount of pleasure. You see what I'm saying?
Well, but here's the thing. Epicureanism was like the most pleasure, but not like an exuberant hedonistic pleasure, more just like the moderate pleasures of a simple life.
Oh, okay.
So don't give in to overindulgence. Focus on like pleasures of the mind rather than physical pleasures. Avoid love, marriage, and sex.
Emily, you're making this really hard to make it not really white.
Well, I was going to say, like, in my head, he's just like a happy little farmer man.
So he's like, hello, dear. My name's Gaius, and I just live my life, day to day, hoping that I can get some pleasure from the daily things, and I just don't want any pain.
We just want little ups and downs, not little big waves, just little.
I'm happy on a day when my oxen produce more ox milk, and I'm sad on a day when they gore my wife.
But not too sad.
But not too sad, because I'll have other wives.
Yeah, so that's Gaius Vellius. That's Epicureanism.
Okay.
Do you have like a celebrity in mind to cast, or?
I mean, it's hard not to say Bruce Willis at this point, right? I mean, get him out of his comfort zone.
For the listeners at home, we had a whole conversation about Bruce Willis just now. I know that name seemed out of left field.
I mean, get him back in hair and mustache like he was in his most famous film, Death Becomes Her. you know, where he
In
looked like Martin
overalls,
Mull.
a flannel.
Yeah. Overalls, we'll get him a little straw hat and a pitchfork.
And a
he'd be
little piece of straw sticking out of his mouth.
Yeah, and we're like, hey, my name's Gaius Velius Brutus Willius, all right? And I'm just here, I'm just looking to grow my corn and destroy all electronic devices.
Yep.
Because that's too much pleasure.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's Gaius Velius Brutus Willius.
Epicureanism. I like that. I like the idea of that. I like the name.
Yeah,
That's
just
fun.
simple pleasures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we got Quintus Lucilius Balbus, and he was representing Stoicism, which is the belief that we should live in a way that's like in accordance with the natural workings of the universe. You know, it's a lot about like fate and the natural order and how that's all like determined by God, and external pleasures like money and power and wealth and all that are not inherently good or bad. It just depends on the virtue of the individual.
Okay, so like money doesn't corrupt people or corrupt and use money as a tool.
Yeah, I think so. Stoicism is like one of the philosophies that's big on like virtue ethics. It was like one of the founding things of virtue ethics. Yeah. Stoics also believe that virtue should be sufficient for happiness. So a true Stoic would not be like emotionally swayed by any kind of misfortune in their lives. And that's why like, that's where our modern idea of Stoicism comes from.
Sure. And this guy, what was it? Quintus
Lucilius Balbus.
The name's Detective Balbus. I've been on the job for 35 years. And in all my day, I'm smoking a cigar.
Yeah,
and in all my days, I've put a lot of bad people in jail. I've had some great times in the force, and I've had some bad times in the force. Like when I lost my partner, Cremulus. But I don't let that get to me. Instead, I'm out there fighting every day, trying to get these awful, terrible,
no good, very bad.
No good, very bad courtesans out of the pockets of the lira and into, you know, whatever Greek prisons are called.
You are nailing this.
And this character is going to be played by Melissa McCarthy.
Really good.
Yeah.
I would love a stoic Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah. You know, she's not over the top, you know?
Yeah.
She's just straightforward, you know? She's got her virtues.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Virtue ethics.
Yeah.
Stoicism. Love it.
Who's our last guy?
Last, we have Gaius Cotta. 2 Gaiuses here.
Oh, 2 Gaiuses. Oh, of course.
Isn't it always?
What a regular white guy name. Gaius.
And Cotta was representing academic skepticism. And this was my favorite. Academic skepticism, according to the Wikipedia article about it, is the belief that, quote, knowledge of things is impossible.
Oh.
Yeah. It's basically the idea that we can never know for sure whether an idea is true or not, no matter how basic it is. There's like no such thing as truth that we can ever attain. There's just degrees of belief, and we act on our beliefs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I mean, honestly, just from a glance, that makes sense to me. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, you're right. We can't know anything.
Yeah, like no ideas out there really mean anything unless you yourself add meaning to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so this guy's got to be eccentric, right? All right.
Yeah, they're also academic skeptics are famous for butting heads with Stoics. So whoever this is, it's the enemy of Melissa McCarthy.
The enemy of Melissa McCarthy is, I mean, without a doubt, that's got to be Jon Voight. Just complete opposite.
Really good.
Right?
Really good.
And he's not doing his own voice.
He's like a conspiracy theorist. He's like, we don't know anything.
Yeah. He's like, hey, man. He's got like a Shaggy voice. He's like, we don't know anything, okay? I mean, can you believe it? Quintus?
Zoinks.
I'm Jon Voight. He says that. That's his catchphrase, and they, like, didn't want to tell him not to do that, but, like, he is, and they're like, we'll cut it out and post if we
Even though
can.
he's playing Gaius Kata, his catchphrase is, I'm Jon Voight.
Yeah. I'm Jon Voight. Oh, okay.
Okay,
how are we
John.
supposed to respond to that? I'm a skeptic. I don't care.
You don't know anything. You don't know if I'm Jon Voight. I don't know if I'm Jon Voight.
It's just a concept.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's what this book is. It's a conversation between Bruce Willis, Melissa McCarthy, and Jon Voight.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy that in a heartbeat if they did an audiobook version of this.
With those actors, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the quote that actually uses this word afflatus or adflatus, it is in the section of the book where Balbus is explaining Stoicism. So this is Melissa McCarthy talking. Mm-hmm. And she says in Latin, Nemo igitur vir magnus sine aliquo ad flatu divino quam fuit, which means a great man never existed without some amount of divine inspiration.
You know, I knew a great man once. That was my partner, whose name I've already forgotten.
I think it was
Crumbilius.
Cremulon.
Cremulon.
I don't remember.
Cremborulus. He was a great man. And that man had divine inspiration. God, I miss you, Crembulus. But not too much. Because that would go against my stoicism.
But not too much, I'm stoic.
I mean, yeah, that tracks. That's
yeah, and that was like one of the Stoic beliefs was that like basically the world is too well designed to have not been designed by God.
Gotcha.
And like men do too many great things to have not been like guided by fate and God.
That's really interesting. I mean, these are very abstract ideas.
Yeah. I mean, this is like foundational Greek philosophy or Roman philosophy.
Yeah. I already really like Afflatus.
Yeah. And it's cool to have like literally the first usage of it so like easily defined.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Like concretely, this is the first usage of that word in that sense.
Yeah, and literally being talked about in the context of, philosophical argument.
Yeah, it's very cool. So
love that.
Moving forward from that original usage, it is used mostly in a theological sense, mostly like using afflatus to mean literal communication from God, guiding your actions, like biblical prophets receiving divine afflatus, telling them what God wants them to do. The first usage I found that brings in like a creative inspiration element to it, at least a little bit, is a 1768 book called The Advantage and Necessity of the Christian Revelation by John Leland, which talks about Christianity in comparison to like ancient pagan religions. And he's talking about the poets who told stories in the pagan mythology, like Aesop and Homer and all those guys. And he refers to several different philosophers' opinions on these poets and their works. And a lot of Roman philosophers were criticizing these older poets because they portrayed the gods as showing very base human behaviors. And they were like, gods should be above that. Zeus shouldn't be sleeping around with everybody because that's bad. And he's a god.
Wait, who felt this way?
A lot of Roman philosophers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But then this guy, the author of this book, John Leland, quotes Socrates, and Socrates believed the poets shouldn't be criticized because the poets were getting their inspiration from the gods themselves.
To say that about the gods.
Right.
Oh and my God, it's a fladeception.
Yes. And so Leland says, quote, Socrates' design is therefore to show that poetry and the interpretation of it is not merely the effect of art or industry, but owing to a kind of divine afflatus. The poet cannot sing, says he, except he be full of God and carried out of himself. Which I think is just a very beautiful turn of phrase.
It absolutely is. And so true in a more generic divine sense. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to talk about this other book that I found that uses the word afflatus in a very different way altogether. This is an 1859 book called Our Press Gang, or A Complete Exposition of the Corruptions and Crimes of the American Newspapers, by Lambert A. Wilmer. And as the title suggests, it is about the corruptions and faults within the American press.
When was this written?
1859.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really know how that contextualizes it. Is that in the muckraker era? I don't actually know. My history
I don't
is not
think so.
good.
I think that's the late 1800s, early 1900s, I want to say.
Oh,
because I'm thinking Hearst, the Newsies strike. That's what I'm associating.
Sure,
with,
is the late
was
1800s.
1899 or something like that, right? 1898.
That is literally the first line of the film Newsies, which is a beloved film to me, but a hated film to you.
I'm glad that we've been able to
in
air these grievances multiple times on this podcast.
It's a topic very close to my heart. Anyway. This book, Lambert A. Wilmer, is not happy about the state of the American press. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in this particular quote, he is talking about journalists whom he refers to as commotion makers. Basically, journalists who take one story and blow it up into a national frenzy. And in talking about these commotion makers, Wilmer uses the word afflatus because it's a flowery word and he wants to use it sarcastically.
Oh, love it.
So he says, quote, "Allow me to remark, my dear countrymen, that I have often blushed for the follies which you have been impelled to commit by the gassy afflatus of journalism. That afflatus, by the way, is nothing like that to which Cicero refers when he says nemo vir magnus sine afflatua liquo divino uncam fuit. The journalistic afflatus is a pestilential blast, a vaporous miasmic exhalation, which produces terribly afflictive epidemics, fevers of a very alarming type, which at various times have swept over the whole area of our beloved country."
That is some powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I love that there's that direct correlation there.
Yeah, he literally quotes it. He says, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, a newspaper fart.
The J. Jonah Jamesons of the world, if you will. Nothing that Cicero would have described.
No, not my man Cicero. Not my main man Cicero.
My main man Oh, cut this out. Don't put this in. I couldn't come up with a nickname.
But unfortunately, that is about all I have for afflatus.
No, I love that. I really like that word. I mean, it's funny because I could not pinpoint when you said it at first, what kind of feeling it gave me. But that definition is yes. I'm okay, yes, that is what afflatus means, and that feels like something that I could use. Specifically in a sarcastic way.
Yes, to use it as Lambert A. Wilmer would have wanted.
Yes, yeah. And the problem, though, is now I can only do it in that voice.
In Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, as Quintus.
Quintus Columbo McCarthy.
The name's Quintus Columbo McCarthy. And I'm gonna afflatus. No, that's not how you would use that in the sentence. There's too much afflatus going on in this world. That's it. I had the cigar again.
And I'm not talking about Cicero here.
Have you seen the IHOP menu? But I digress.
Kyle, what's the name of that film starring Quintus Columbo McCarthy?
Yeah. They're starring in the summer flick, the summer hit, that comedy action adventure.
Yeah.
Three men and cicada.
Kyle, before we devolve too far, do you want to do a quick little game?
I would love to do a quick little game.
All right, Kyle. Today's game is called It's All Latin to Me.
Nice.
Yep. And I thought, since we've been taking these classical Roman philosophers and sort of translating them into modern day characters and modern day films, I thought I would sort of do the opposite. So I've taken some modern day famous films.
Oh, I love this.
And translated the titles into Latin.
You can't see, but I raised my hands in the air. That's how excited I was.
So yeah, this seemed like it would be right up your alley. So I'm going to give you a Latin title, And I want you to try and guess what the film is.
Okay, I'm in for it.
All right. So first is Cantantes in Pluvia.
Okay, that's gonna be that famous Lucille Ball hit.
You can get this, Kyle.
Lots of singing.
Yeah. Singing where?
In the Pluvius. Singing in the rain!
You got it!
Oh, the Pluvius! Of course, the Pluvius.
Yes. Singing in the rain. Yep.
That's good, I like that.
Cantantes in Pluvia. Next is Cor Fortium.
Core Fortium. I mean, that's a type of battery that you can use for your remotes. The big ones are for cars.
Nope. Do you know what Corcordium means?
Corcordium?
That would help. Yeah.
Oh,
Corcordium means heart of hearts.
This is Heart of Blarts. It's a Paul Blart spinoff.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
No, it's Fortium. It means brave. It's brave heart.
Oh, Cor Fortium.
Yeah. This one I think you can get if you know these Latin words. Pulchritudo et bestia.
Oh, Pulchritudo et bestia?
Bestia or bestia. Yeah.
Well, that's beast or animal.
Yeah.
Pulchrituda, is that... It's not Beauty and the Beast.
You got it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Pulchrituda is
Yes.
beauty?
Yeah. And that's actually, that's an English word too. Pulchritude means beauty. As featured in the fantastic film Aquila and the Bee.
Aquila and the Bee.
All right, I got another one. I think you might be able to get this one too.
Okay.
Bonum, malum, et turpe. Like bonum, comma, malum, comma, et turpe.
Oh, that's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
You got it.
Yeah, yeah. Starring Clint Eastwood, who was almost chosen for the Quintus role, but...
And then they said, you know what, Clint? We think we're going to go in a different direction. Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
Well, it was just that it got stalled. Like, they started making it in 1963,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. But Jon Voight's been on the project the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a young man, and then...
Yeah. And Clint Eastwood, do you know how many films that Melissa McCarthy was in that Clint Eastwood was supposed to play that part?
The original
Bridesmaids. She stole it from him.
He was going to be in the all-female Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Happy Time Murder. Yeah, he was going to be the female Ghostbusters.
All right, Kyle, I got one more for you.
Okay, I'm in.
This is a grand finale.
Okay.
Marmota Die.
Marmota Die is...
This one didn't translate exactly. There wasn't a word for the first half of this.
Emily, I know exactly what this is.
You do? What is it?
It's Groundhog Day!
It's Groundhog Day! My favorite film, and now yours, because I made you watch it with me on Groundhog Day.
I truly though, guys, everybody, before Groundhog Day, I was like, what is this film? Bill Murray? Who's that? Second voice of Garfield? That's it. And then I watched it, and I was like, this is the most intricate, creative movie that I've ever seen. It's so good. Watch it.
Wow, I'm really glad that the last 2 minutes of this episode are going to be just you plugging Groundhog Day.
I mean, truly. I mean, watch it. It is great. Just good film.
And on that note, that is all we have to say about Groundhog Day and Afflatus.
Afflatus.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and thank you, Kyle, for taking this word.
I'll take it with me.
I've been Emily.
I've been Kyle.
And you'll hear us next week.
Yeah, see you guys soon in the oral realm.
Oh.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Butter No Parsnips. Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Gliksman, Emily Moyers, and Kyle Imperatore. The theme music and additional music is by Kyle Imperatore. If you liked listening to this episode, subscribe and give us a good rating and or positive review wherever you heard it. If you really liked listening, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. There you can get bonus content you can't get anywhere else, like the monthly Patreon exclusive podcast Buttered Parsnips. Your support means the world to us and encourages us to keep making more. Thanks in advance, and we'll be back next week.